Hi guys and welcome back to the channel, and today is my review, discussion, spoiler talk about the new Netflix film I'm Thinking of Ending Things. This is directed by Charlie Kaufman. Now Charlie Kaufman is famous for being the writer of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, one of the greatest films of all time, which starred Jim Carrey. Now, this film is beautiful, it's lonely, it's depressing, it's unique, but it's a very, very good film. Now, I will say this about the film. This is a very artistic-led film. You know, you can see that Charlie Kaufman put a lot of thought into this. It's based on a book, but he tries and ties everything together in his own way also. A lot of the film is surrounded by colour, and colour plays a big theme, much like it did in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but it's based on a book. It's a very, very good film, but I will say this, not everybody will like this film. There will be people who love this film. There will be people who hate this film. For me, there won't be any in the middle. Now, most people watching this film will be confused. They will probably go to YouTube, videos like this, to understand what the film is actually about. But I will say this, art can be interpreted in any way. That's what artists do. They do art. It's up to the people who witness that art, whether it be a film, a picture, to decide what that art stands for, what it means for you as an individual. And each person is different, so when they watch a film or they see a piece of art, it makes them feel and have different emotions than the other person. So there is no wrong or right answer really when looking at this film, but it can be very, very confusing. Now, it stars one of my favourite actors, Jesse Plemons. You would have seen him from Breaking Bad, you would have seen him from the El Camino film, he would have been in Fargo. He pops up here and there. He's a very, very good actor. And also Jessie Buckley. Now, the two of these characters in the film have a relationship, and they decide to go on a road trip to go see Jesse Plemons' mother and father at the farmhouse. Okay, now Jesse Plemons' character has a name, Jake. Jessie Buckley's character is just referred to in IMDb as the young woman, and in this film she has multiple names. We get to meet Toni Collette and David Tools, who plays Jesse Plemons' mother and father. Now, this isn't a linear story, and I will say this film, none of it exists. None of it is actually real. And I want to get to that. The film mostly takes place in a number of places. It takes place within the car with Jesse Plemons and Jessie Buckley. It takes place at the farmhouse with the four of them together. It takes place outside a fast food restaurant. It also takes place at a high school. Those are really the main places where this story takes place. Now, while Jesse Plemons and Jessie Buckley's characters are in the car and they're on the way to the farmhouse, there is a very lengthy scene, a very long scene. But what Charlie Kaufman does is that the dialogue is very, very good. Now, I have not read the book, so I don't know if it's similar, but the dialogue kind of gets you, it brings you into the story. It makes you want to listen to every little bit that these characters are talking about. In the car, they touch on philosophy, they touch on life, they touch on love, they touch on absolutely everything that people talk about in day-to-day things, whether it be trivia, things like that. And that's very interesting. The aspect ratio in this film is not the normal, per se, black bar at the top and black bar at the bottom. The black bars are on the side of each side. And what this does, it makes you focus on the actual characters. You don't get distracted by things in the background or things at the side of the image. You're really, really focused on the characters. And I think this is done deliberately. You get to see the emotion, you get to see the colour of what they're wearing. You get to see what the character is dealing with in that moment. Now, as I said, none of this is actually real. Now, while we're in the car, it cuts to a number of scenes with an older gentleman who is a janitor at a high school. Now, early on, there is similarities between Jesse Plemons' character Jake and the janitor, and for me, I kind of got it straight away that this was the same character. It cuts back and from those two characters a lot, and it makes you question what is actually going on here and how do these two characters tie up together with the story being told. We meet that janitor where he's getting ready to start his day, and there's one thing that you can really tell from this janitor. He's a lonely human being. He seems to have no kids or a wife in the house that he's living in. He's lonely. He has his breakfast. He was watching cartoons. You go see him go to work. The kids are making fun of him. He just has a very, very lonely job, keeps to himself. That's what you can get straight away. But what is this story actually about? I'm thinking of Ending Things can be interpreted in a number of ways. We see Jessie Buckley's character, the young woman, mention this so many times in her head. I'm thinking of ending things. Now that can be interpreted as the relationship between the two, or suicidal thoughts. Now, it's a little bit of both. But Jessie Buckley's character is not real. This is all taking place within the head of the janitor. He's looking back at old memories of what could have been, what happened, and what didn't happen. And it's very, very interesting. It's a great character study. We've seen so many romantic comedies throughout the years with a man falls in love with the woman, he loses the woman, he gets her back, he does something heroic, he makes a speech, or he sings, or he dances, and that's when he gets the woman back. But this is the very opposite of that story. We're meant to believe that these two characters met at a bar. They met at a table quiz night, and Jesse Plemons' character walked up to Jessie Buckley's character and asked for her phone number. We find out later on in the film that this actually is not real. It's all taking place within the janitor's head, who is having suicidal thoughts of ending his life. He is alone. He's lonely. He's depressed. He goes day to day not realising who he actually is and what could have been in his life. Now, he's a very intelligent person, and we get to see that with Jesse Plemons' character when he's interacting with his mother and interacting with his father. But when we first meet his mother and father, they take a while to come downstairs to greet them. And even when Jesse Plemons' father, played by David Twills, comes down, he doesn't even look his own son in the eye while shaking his hand. Now, this can probably cut back to his childhood of being his parents not being around for him, and it cuts the scenes of his parents fighting. He's a very anxious character who's dealing with the emotions. He seems to hear every single thought that Jessie Buckley's character has. Why? Because she is fabricated from his imagination. He calls her by a number of names throughout the film, and from what I get from this is Jessie Buckley's character, which is referred to as the young woman, has numerous names throughout the film. So I think it's a mixture of every single woman that ever got away from Jessie Plemons' character, Jake. Either that be failed relationships or girls who he found attractive and wanted to talk to but didn't have the courage. She is a mixture of all those women and what could have been. We see Jessie Plemons' house and his room. It still looks like a children's bedroom. There's old DVDs, there's old books, there's old poems. A poem which Jessie Buckley's character within the car between the two has said she has just written, and then she reads that poem later on. It also refers back to a lot of musicals. Oklahoma is one which Jessie Plemons' character says he loves. It's his favourite musical. And basically that story is about two people in love, and then there's a side character who resents the man that is with the woman that he wants to be with, and he tries to kill that man, but he ends up dying himself. This is a very artistic film, and there's so much to break down. You probably won't understand this at a first viewing, but it's worth going back and watching again and again. There's even a scene near the end of the film where Jessie Plemons' character goes into the high school to confront the janitor, and Jessie Buckley's character follows him. She goes in, she can't find him anywhere, she meets the janitor, which is Jake. Jake asks Jessie Buckley's character, what's he look like? She said, I don't even know. We didn't even do anything. He had just seen him staring at me all night in the bar. So that proves that story is fake. They never even met each other. They never even had a relationship. Then there's a scene between an actress playing Jessie Buckley's character, an actress playing Plemons' character, where they dance and have like a musical dance, which leads to this other janitor coming in and taking Jessie Buckley's character away from him and him being killed. I think he's thinking in this instance of what could have been if he fought for a girl a little bit more, if he put himself out there. Then he would have been content of dying, because he would have died knowing that he fought for the woman that he loved. But he never went through anything like that because he was too afraid. It's a beautiful film. Even at the end of the film, it's Jessie Plemons' character with older makeup up there accepting a Nobel Prize. He's depressed because he knows that he could have been something and he never even attempted it in his whole life. It really is a depressing character study. I really like this film. And even at the end, when Jesse Plemons' Jake character, who is the janitor, dies at the end, he finishes his shift in the high school. He gets into his car, he takes off his clothes. Instead of turning the heat on and driving home when there's a blizzard out, he sits in the car and he dies. And he sees this imaginary pig. And this imaginary pig goes back to the farm which he grew up on, where earlier in the film he said that his father had to put down the pigs because they were being eaten alive by maggots. This resembles the janitor's life. His life is eating away. It's slowly ending, and he has done absolutely nothing. He's just standing or lying there and doing his day-to-day activities, but he's dying a little bit inside every single day. The janitor accepts this. He even sees an imaginary pig and follows the pig into heaven or hell or whatever the afterlife is. But I really, really like this film. It's an extraordinary, unique film that takes risks. It isn't perfect, but I really, really did like it. And it really is a story of loneliness. But that was my interpretation of this film. I could be wrong, I could be right, I don't know. Guys, let me know if you read the book, if you watched the film, what do you think this film actually means? It's a fascinating watch and I'd love to watch it again. Give a like, comment, subscribe, come follow me on all the socials, and I'll see you next time, guys.